Hey gang, this is John Newton from Snap-on John 100, and this video is in the Fire series, and it's part 2 of the series on gathering tinder. And with this one we're going to be in a lot more open areas, and we'll be looking for like fluffy seed pod type things. I brought along the tinder that I gathered in the last video. I'm going to show you some ways of how to process it and create a bird's nest. I'm also going to show, I brought the grapevine. I'm also going to show you the part that I don't like about it as far as a tinder material. But right now I've just noticed something. It's a member, or it's related to the milkweed. It's a vine, and the milkweed right now is not ripe enough, because that's a great tinder source, the seed pod fluff. But that one right now is it's still too green. But I found some of these, and I'll show you these right now. Here is it's the vine, and I've actually used in the past I have used the dead vines from the previous year in my bird's nest, because it burns real well. But what we're looking for is a ripe pod that has opened, like this one. See that? So we're going to gather some of those. You also don't want to use plastic bags to store. At least you want something to breathe. But right now I don't have anything but plastic bags to put this in. So you just want to make sure that you keep the tops open. And I'll just show you those. Sorry about this camera moving around. Here's some right here. Just take the whole thing. Down here some. Here's another one. Just take the whole pod. Gotta get a lot of these because they're pretty small. Okay. Some of them are still green. Also, if you get poison ivy, you always want to make sure you watch out when you don't want to just reach into the weeds, grabbing tinder and stuff without paying attention to what your hand's going into. Okay, I'm gonna stop the camera and gather a little bit more of this. Here's a big batch of it right here. Here's some more of it. Focus in better. There it is right there. So I'm going to gather some of this, and then we'll move on. I thought I'd show you a milkweed. Most everybody knows what they look like, but there's the pods right here. And they burst open and are full of seeds, but they're not quite ready yet. I did find 2 of last year's seed pods that were, obviously opened, but just the hull was there. I gathered those. I'm looking for some thistles because they've gone to seed, but I haven't seen any thistles out here at all yet. So I'm not going to be collecting grass. I've also found that dried grass for me, is one of the worst sources for a bird's nest, because even though it seems like it's all dry, it just smokes and smolders and smokes and smolders, and then finally fizzles out. So I've just basically stayed away from grass unless it's I find something hanging in a tree that's been there for a long time. Here's a thistle, but it looks like this one hasn't really seeded out yet. There's what I'm looking for up there at the top. See those? Those are the tops, and they get full of fluffy seeds. So that's not going to help me. We'll move on. in this area, it might look like the what's going to just save the day for me, and you could completely use what I have is tinder from trees, and that's what I had. The bulk of that I got last time was all from trees. And when I was at a survival school at Dave Canterbury's, it rained for 4 days straight, and I mean poured, and we were required to make fire after fire after fire with gathered materials. And when you're in a downpour that's like I feel like it's a monsoon, and you're trying to gather dry tinder, it's pretty tough. And what really saved the day was the underbark from poplar, tulip poplar trees. It was wet, obviously, because it rained so much, but we would find dead branches and then strip the bark off of it, because they were so, it stripped off real easily, and then we'd peel the fibrous underbark off and just keep pulling it apart, working it, storing it in our pockets, wrapping it in a bandana, anything cotton, to try to absorb the water out of it so that it would dry out. And if you worked it long enough, you could get it where it was dry enough to start a fire. But you wondered. It wasn't easy. Here's some stuff right here. Weed tops. I don't know if I can get focus in on it. It's right here. And actually that doesn't even feel, that felt, that's kind of wet still. It rained, it poured actually yesterday. So things aren't as dry because it's really warm out. So it seems like everything should be bone dry, but it's not quite dry because of the, I don't know, where I worked, it was a little farther away from here, but it just poured for maybe an hour or so. Okay. We're not coming up too well on the dead weed, fluffy weed tinder. Right now we're getting back into an area where there's not going to be those types of weeds. So once you get into the really wooded area, the stuff that you're relying on is getting scarcer and scarcer. Now, cattail is another excellent one, but we're not anywhere near cattails. So believe me, I would have made a beeline for a cattail if there was around, but there aren't any around. So we're just going to continue on. What we'll do if I get to the point where I don't think that we're going to find any more stuff around here, I'll stop and show you what I've got and process the materials into a bird's nest and create a couple of fires for you. Here's what I was talking about. There's some of that dead vine that's from last year. I'll see if I can zoom in on it. See it right there? I'm going to collect that. All right, see this will be good. So I'll put that in my bag. I just wanted to show you this before I moved on. This right here is a source of inner bark. fibers. Let's see if we can find a better spot to gather it. This might be a little too rotted. Yeah, that's a little too rotted, but see if I can find a piece that's better. Here's one. This piece right here. And all you have to do is just take it. Let me put this camera down so I can show you what I'm doing. You just take it and peel it down. Just peel it off. And then you just break it, and then you expose more. See how that works? I'm trying to keep this in the, there we go. See how this, and you just peel it that way. And you just keep breaking it when it gets to where it won't peel very well. Here's some here. Then to break it. I'll show you that. See, now this is exposed. By breaking it, I exposed all this, and this piece now I can just peel off. All right. I don't want to belabor the point, but this is a phenomenal tinder. This is something you can collect anytime, and this has to be basswood, but tulip poplar works as well, and the inner bark of cottonwood too. I stopped here because I wanted to show you the process you go through for making a bird's nest. I brought the materials I collected in the last video, plus some of the stuff I collected this time. And I like to carry my stuff in a bag like this, as a haversack. This happens to be one from Dave Canterbury's school, but it's an oilcloth canvas, and it is phenomenal for carrying stuff because obviously everything can breathe, but it's water resistant. It's a breathable kind of. It was actually the first breathable type rain gear. So what I want to start with is I didn't show you how I did with this basswood, and if we can listen, I can hear a coyote pup behind me. Every once in a while you hear it yelping. So you take the sticks and you just peel the bark off. A piece. So you end up with this. Now I have some here. This is the vine that I collected. This right here is from a yellow birch. This has I think it's pronounced betulum in it, and it's actually flammable. So this is like having an accelerant on your tinder. Once again, you don't want to store things in, because they end up, if it gets hot or there's sun beating on it, it ends up, it starts sweating. Okay, let's see if I can find the stuff that, okay. Alright, and this is grapevine. And I wanted to show you why I don't like grapevine. And for the inside of the bird's nest where you're trying to get a flame to start. The reason why is because you want to get surface area, so when you work this and crush it up, it ends up, and because there's no fibers in it, it ends up just, I'll show you, it just basically it grinds up into nothing. Now I've never tried striking it with a fire steel. Maybe if you tried to strike this pile of stuff with a fire steel, we might try that if we have enough time, because I'm always open to experimenting, because that would be a great resource if that helps, because there's grapevine everywhere. But you see what I'm left with is nothing. It just, there's virtually no fibers in this, as opposed to this. This has fibers. You see this? Then you just take this, you get the bark off of it. And so you peel the outer bark off, because that's not something you can use, and you're left with the inner fibers. Here's some more here. Now this just peels off, and you can help it along. But you get this, and you just keep separating it like this, pulling it apart. I hope you can hear the coyote pup behind me. It's not real loud, but just little yelps. Do you see this? And you work this in your hand, and you just keep pulling it apart and working it, because what you're looking for is surface area. If you see the contrast, the difference between this and the grapevine, like night and day. But the grapevine burns real well, so it's nice to have this for support material for the back of your, I like it for the back of my bird's nest, because once it gets going, you flip it over, and then you've got that really dry, flammable bark right on top to start burning. Okay, so that's what you end up with. I'll save this off to the side. Spot cleared out here so I can not start a fire. So you end up with this, and here's some of it that I got the day before yesterday or so, and I worked that down. See how it looks almost like packing material. Okay, this is a phenomenal bird's nest. Okay, this is the inner bark of basswood, and I just showed you the basswood there. You can get the same stuff out of underneath the cottonwood or tulip poplar. So I'm going to put that aside. What else did I get? I got some poplar bark. That's right here. This is some poplar. See, it looks almost the same. I'll add that to it. Okay, I don't really need anything else. This will work by itself. Now, if you got a bow drill fire and you just got a little small ember, you want to use a coal extender or something that makes the coal grow. And this is, remember the cedar that I collected, that I scraped off the cedar tree. This will just start glowing and growing as a big coal. So this is used as your coal extender. You put your ember in there and then have this inside the bird's nest. I'll do one of those also. I'll set this aside, and if I have enough time, I'll do a bow drill fire with this one. Okay, now for a flint and steel, this is plenty. We'll do this with the flint and steel. What I'm going to do is, I'll save this. What I'll do is I'll use this for the support material. For my flint and steel. Let's see if I can find it. I got a flint and steel kit here somewhere. I'm always collecting tinder. Got it everywhere. Oh, here's a little small flint and steel kit. Find a piece of charred cloth. Okay. Let's see if I can get this. Alright, so now we're going to try this with a flint and steel. Oh, I'll have to double this up. Finally. Alright, so we'll put this in here. There we go. All right. Now you saw that smoke? That was the that smoke was the moisture being burned off. So as you saw, that there's quite a bit of moisture in that. All right. Put that out. All right. That was flint and steel. And all right. Get that put out. Okay. All right, now the next one we'll try is a bow and drill, because we'll try this one. Okay. And we'll go ahead and we'll use this. We'll use some of this for support material. Okay. Now let's get this going. Let's try that. I got my welcome mat here. Alright, so we got a hearth board and a spindle, and what we're going to do is go over to right there. Okay. I'm using my BK Bushcrafter. I'm sorry, it's the Blind Horse Knives Bushcrafter. And it's got one of my favorite blade profiles, the spear point. I'll be doing a review on that later on. Okay. What I do here. Yeah, let's see here. Okay, that's good. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to seat that spindle. should do that in front of the camera. This end is going to be down, so you come on the inside of your bow and then just wrap it around like that, and that puts it on the outside of the string. That's where you want it. If it's on the inside, it can jam when it hits either side. Okay, my instep is right up where the hole is, and I'm about an inch away, and that puts my hand and wrist at exactly in the spot which allows that to be perpendicular, which is what you're looking for. Okay. That was a little burnished. That's better. Okay. Now, what I use is a saw, either from a Swiss Army knife or a Leatherman multi-tool. I'm going to start my notch by going from the very center of that black spot out. See this? Okay. Okay. And then I go to the front of it and chamfer the front bottom edge. And that gives an extra spot for the ember to, allows more air to get to it. Okay. And then the other thing is, I like a thin profile blade to finish this notch up. I'm not doing the review of the knife yet, or I would do the whole thing with that knife, but for now I want the expedience. But see how you've chamfered the front edge here, and you go in carefully and you make a notch that's about either a quarter of an inch or quarter of an inch wide or an eighth of a pie. And you want to make where the ember falls down, you want to make that fairly smooth so that it doesn't catch in there. Because if it catches in there, it'll clog up and you'll lose your oxygen will be starved out. Okay. Now it's important that you have something for your ember to fall on. Okay, I gotta back up. Okay, that's good. I'm gonna try this. This notch looks a tad narrow, but I'll see if it'll work. Okay. All right. And I'm using my deluxe bearing block that I sell. Just contact me if you're interested in those. ember. And I can settle down. Okay. We got an ember, and I'm going to move the camera up a little bit. You can see me more. Okay. Here we go. Now I'm going to put this in the center of, remember they had the, oh shoot. You need to do this without talking, apparently. You got to stay focused. All right. I hope this still goes. So now carefully transfer this into the cedar. Okay. I almost lost it because I just had like one little tiny ember. There you go. And there you have it. 2 fires started with natural materials that you collect yourself as you're moving along. I hope you liked this series, and if you have any questions, make sure you just give me a comment. And once again, if you like what you're seeing, please subscribe and like the video. And until we meet again, God bless. Well, I don't think that passed the test. The thing I forgot to talk about was this fluffy material. This is flashover, and what I do with I have that is I mix it with something that will burn if it will burn if it's got a spark on it, I mean a flame. So they use the flashover to get the flame early. Now let's see if what that does. This has to be really fluffed up. Let's see if that's enough. See, now that allows the other stuff to catch. But I don't think that the bark from the grapevine is good as a primary tinder. I think it's I still like the way I use it as the platform, and then I turn it over once I got a good flame going. It burns real well once you've got an established flame.